Go live. Jenna, it's telling me it looks like this broadcast was deleted on Facebook. Try creating a new broadcast or just remove this destination from the broadcast, then re-add it. When I hit go live, that's what comes up. And then there's an option to edit or remove. Oh my, are we live? I'm so sorry. Okay.
We're doing well.
Here we are live in PCS Grades. And on today's webinar, we are talking about PCS Claims Explained. We are going to be answering all of your questions about filing claims, handling issues throughout your move, and hopefully receiving full replacement value for your items.
And this is my co-host, Lizanne Lightfoot. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the lovely Lizanne Lightfoot. Lizanne, tell us about yourself.
I'm so sorry. We are thrown off today. I am Lizanne Lightfoot. I'm the Senior Content Editor at PCS Grades. I have been doing this webinar for a while, I promise. And we are super excited. Today I have my co-host, Tessa Robinson. We have special guest, Michael Zarnecki, and we are going to get to all of your questions very shortly. So please, as we are going, just let us know where you are tuning in from, which base you're representing, and whether or not you have a move coming up this summer.
And most exciting about all of this is that at the end of the show, we'll be giving away 2 spouse serve planners and a $50 Amazon gift card, which is absolutely exciting. You can be entered to win simply by asking questions and leaving comments, like Lizanne said, in the comment section below. So go ahead, ask your questions, share your comments, concerns, suggestions, and shout outs. We know you have probably a lot of questions and a lot of praise, hopefully, Michael, regarding claims. But first, let's go ahead and meet our guest. I asked him if I could call him Mike. He said he's been called a lot of things, but he does go by Michael. So Michael Zarnecki, Vice President, National Claims Services Incorporated. Please tell us about your background with National Claims Service and how you help military families.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me today. My name is Michael Zarnecki. I'm the VP of National Forwarding Company and National Claims Services. About 11 years ago, I was hired at National Forwarding Company as a move manager. So I did all the coordination and checking and verifying information with service members, a lot of confirming information with the different bases that we work with, a lot of DPS work. About a year into my employment, a position in claims opened, and I was hired. And then slowly just worked my way through all different types of catastrophic events and working on different types of claims of loss and damage as a assistant manager, then a director, and now onto a VP. So I really handle quite a bit now. So
we are absolutely thrilled to have you here. Of course, claims is a big piece of the PCS process. So let's start. We'll just dive right in. Where do I file a claim? What does that process look like? And who is communicating with me throughout? 3 parts.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a great start. So most claims, I'm going to say most claims, and I'll explain why, have to be filed through the DPS portal, and that can be accessed through militaryonesource.com. So a service member can file that claim, or a spouse, as long as they have all their login information or access to a CAT card. As far as what does the process look like, it's very important to note that the service member and the TSP, the transportation service provider, will see different versions of DPS. So I sometimes will tell a service member on the phone when they call and have an issue with DPS, sometimes it's the blind leading the blind. It could be a service member looking to try to find some button that's somewhere buried in that system, but we see a different side of it. So typically what we'll do is if we're not able to troubleshoot the issue right on the spot, we do ask the service member to reach out to the DPS help desk. And their phone number for reference, if you can put it on the screen, 1-800-462-2176. Especially during claims time and the busier times of the year when there are a lot of moves going on, we have heard that the wait times sometimes get a bit up there, but you are able to go to that militaryonesource.com page. You can open up a ticket, and we've also heard that they have a callback feature now, that when the wait times are too long, you can put in your information and actually have them give you a phone call back. When filing a claim, the service member or spouse will have to enter an inventory, any inventory number, any make or model information that they have, description of the damaged item, purchase cost, claimed amount, purchase year, and all those loss and damage items need to be filed in DPS. Now, the claims that don't have to be filed in DPS, physical damage to structures, if there's a dent in your wall, any type of residential damage, that can be filed outside of DPS directly with the transportation service provider. Delay claims, inconvenience claims, those can also be filed directly with the TSP. They don't have to be filed in DPS. There are other catastrophic situations, shipments that are destroyed by a fire or water damage or mold, that your TSP can actually reach out to the military claims office. They're known as the MCO, and you can secure basically a waiver from the government to file that claim outside of DPS on paper documents. That definitely speeds up the process a bit, because you don't have to file all that in DPS, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lines. So it does make the process a little bit easier, but as with any catastrophic loss like that, it does take quite a bit of time to work through.
For sure. And that's always very tragic. Frustrating when people are dealing with that.
Absolutely. And as far as who's communicating with you on the other side, it could be directly with the transportation service provider. It could be a move manager who's trying to help coordinate something with you, or it could be a claims company that's handling something. It really depends at which stage of the move you're working through as far as what person you're going to be communicating with on the other side. There are a lot of TSPs that handle their own claims in-house, but then there are also claims companies out there, basically third-party companies that will handle claims on behalf of other TSPs. And basically they're contracted to handle that part of the move, essentially.
Got it. Well, that is a great place to start. I know you have a lot of questions, all of you who are watching. So clearly Michael knows a lot about this whole process, and we want to take your questions during this webinar. But we do have a lot of questions for you as well, Michael. So let's say that I haven't noticed damage on the first day that the movers are unloading the truck. Everything looks good at first, so I sign all those moving documents. And then as I begin to unpack, that's when I'm noticing things that are cracked or dented or broken. And how much time do I have after delivery day to actually process and file those claims?
Sure. So that's a great question, and that's something that comes up quite often here. So the old rules allowed a service member to provide notification to the TSP of loss or damage within 75 days of delivery. Okay. As of 2 years ago now, we've been in effect with the new rule. The service member is now allowed up to 180 days after their delivery to note loss or damage. And that could be something as small as a broken dish that was maybe in a box that you didn't get the chance to unpack, or holiday decorations, especially during this time of year. If you're moving, you may not be going through all your Christmas items. You may find that later on. So the government has extended that 75 days to 180 days to provide notice and your intent to file a claim in DPS.
That's awesome, because it definitely takes some time to open up every box that has been delivered, but that's why we are always encouraging you, take that time, go through the house and make sure you've at least verified and looked inside of every box. Don't leave it sealed and unchecked until your next PCS move.
So let me ask you a specific question. So how do I claim an item that wasn't specifically listed on the outside of the box? So for example, I've got a box that says kitchen items, and my fabulous margarita maker is shattered. What do I do?
So typically not every item that's in a box is going to be listed on the outside of the carton, but it should be a general idea of what room that item came out of. So if you have your margarita mixer, that sounds really good right now. Actually, it's after 12 o'clock. I think we could. As long as it says kitchen items on it, there really shouldn't be any pushback for you to claim that damage. Now, if you claim damage to a wedding dress and you say that item was in a kitchen box, there's going to be some questions. But typically, as long as that damaged item is coming out of a box that has that general description on it, there shouldn't be much pushback.
So is there, and I'm going off script, everybody loves it when I do this. Let's say I have a small house, which is true, and I keep my margarita maker in a guest bedroom closet. Mm-hmm. Is there going to be pushback? Am I going to have to justify it? Am I going to run into problems with it?
Well, you may, but I'm thinking that item may still be in the factory pack box. Maybe not. But that would be something that you should definitely take a picture of that item coming out of that box as you're unpacking it. Okay. That is something that I'll typically suggest on the day of delivery. Take a lot of pictures. Take the pictures. Show us, if a complaint is how bad the packing was, show us. Take pictures of those items coming out of those boxes and show us that inventory sticker. There have been times where inventories have been slightly off by 1 or 2 numbers, and we're looking at the claim going, none of these items match up. The only way to protect yourself with that is document.
Okay. And let's be honest, my margarita mixer is going in the car with me wherever I
go. That's what it really is. But I do like that tip, Michael, because it's something that we encourage people to do in the time leading up to your move when you're preparing for the movers to come. It's really smart to try and group like items from around the house into I might store things in closets everywhere because that's just where they fit. But if we could have kind of a organized and logical way of presenting things to the movers, then hopefully they can get, all of those kitchen items with the other kitchen things, and they're not throwing in clothing and shoes and other stuff into that same box.
Exactly. And if they are, take pictures of that. That will help you substantiate your claim. That will help if quality control or US Transcom reaches out to you for feedback about your move. Hopefully nobody out there is doing that, but
for sure,
I won't really be surprised with anything I see anymore.
Well, we are not usually too surprised at PCS Grades because we have an entire group of items that have been lost and found during PCS moves. And a lot of you who are watching are probably already members of our Facebook group, Lost During My PCS. It has thousands of members from all over the globe. And really, it has been incredible to see the way that people have shared things that have been lost, that they're missing from their own PCS shipments, but also when they receive other people's stuff and they say, hey, I have this, it's not mine. Anyone know who this belongs to? They share the cities that it's coming from and going to. And we have been able to reunite so many really unique, cool things with their owners. So if you're not a member yet of Lost During My PCS, you can follow us on Facebook. There's also a brand new Instagram group that makes it really easy to scroll through the images of those lost and found items. And I think we have links for those in the comments. So please feel free to check those out. And I know we've been talking a lot about kitchen items here, but Michael, I think that a lot of us have collectible and high value items. And those claims, I believe, are processed a little bit differently than your everyday mundane kitchenware claims. So what's the difference between that high value inventory and the other claims?
Sure, definitely. That's another great question. So it's going to be typically items that are more than $100 per pound and some sort of collectible or a rare type of item. So taking a step back, I want to preface what I'm about to say with an example that has always stuck in my mind as far as high risk, high value items. A few years ago, had a service member that pretty much told us, we don't care what happens with the rest of our shipment. This one box is the most important thing to us. And I don't recall where they were going or why they couldn't take this box with them. But it actually turned out to be a box of baby items from one of their children that had passed. And maybe that box is not necessarily high value because everything in that carton probably could have been replaced for $50, but it's still a high risk item. So it was a box that they specifically called to our attention that they said, take the most care about with this carton out of everything else. And that was something that always stuck with me. So some of the new rules that Transcom has put into place is that TSPs should work with the service member and add as many of those items onto a high risk, high value as possible. Movers are not expected to be appraisers, but if there is an item that stands out to them, let's say maybe a full gold margarita mixer, I would hope that somebody would pause and stop and say, hey, this item should probably be on the high risk, high value inventory. But I did copy and paste the wording directly from the claims business rules. And high risk, high value items are defined as to include, but not limited to, currency, coins, jewelry, silverware, silver sets, and the list somewhat goes on here. But really, those are items that are considered to be the highest value, in the shipment that are going to require some sort of special handling. So they are covered in the case that they're damaged or missing at delivery.
Okay, that's super helpful. Now, so what happens, with those especially high value? I mean, high risk, I think so many of those things are truly irreplaceable. Like you said, it might not be high monetary, but high emotional, high nostalgia, high special. But so those high value items, if you've got an expensive couch or a really nice TV or something like that, and you don't have a receipt, how do you prove ownership? What do you do here? What are best practices?
Sure, definitely. So again, let's go back. Document. If you're able to pull an old credit card receipt from Best Buy that you purchased the TV from, or a receipt from a furniture company, as far as a credit card charge is concerned, all that information is helpful. But what I would probably suggest out of everything else is before you move, take pictures of these items. Take pictures of the full item. Take a picture of the barcode that's on the back of those. As far as couches are concerned and high value furniture, typically those manufacturer names are actually stitched into the couch or the unit. So they have tags on them. Take pictures of all that, document them. Because in the case that they're damaged, you at least still have that item that you can prove make and model information typically. But let's say that item goes missing. Maybe the only way that you can prove what you actually had was based on those photos that you took before the items got moved.
Awesome. Thank you.
That makes sense. And I'm going to pull up a quick question here from our viewer. Trya just joined in. So thanks so much for watching us today. She asked, how long is a claim supposed to take? And you did address earlier how long we have to file a claim, but I think she's asking more for once I filed. What's that overall timeline look like from start to finish?
Yeah, so and that's another great question. That's something that's changed over the last few years. So once I'm going to assume that this is a loss and damage claim that's filed in DPS. The TSP has 15 days to acknowledge that service member filed that claim. It could be something as simple as just an email going out and saying, hey, we received your claim. We're working on it. As soon as we have information, we'll reach out to you. As far as settlement is concerned, if a claim is $1,000 or less, the TSP has 30 days to make an offer. If it's $1,000, $1,001 or more, the TSP has 60 days to make an offer on that claim.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope that answers your question. And I see Jenna here. We were talking about high value items a moment ago. Restoration hardware is her high value item for sure. We would love to hear from you guys in the comments, items that have either been high value monetarily to you or, high value sentimentally, collectionally for your family. What would be your most precious items to move with? And
I want to jump in and ask Ernie, our dear friend Ernie, who is a celebrity guest on our show, did ask an awesome question, which was, does a claim differ from items list on the high value versus inventory? So if it's on that high value list, is the claims process different?
Well, it should be on both. Your high value items should also be on your regular inventory. Your recovery, if an item is lost or damaged, could possibly be limited if it's not on that high risk, high value inventory. One of the more recent changes that has come through are people who have collections of Nike sneakers or pairs of Jordans. If you have an inventory that just simply lists, a wardrobe carton full of shoes, your recovery is probably going to be different than if you said you had 50 pairs of mint, brand spanking new condition Jordans in boxes. So it's very important to make sure that if you do have a collection or an item that's an antique that's so much money to replace, that you do call those items to the attention of the crew to make sure that they're listed how they should be. Also want to say that firearms should always be on a high risk, high value inventory with make, model, and serial number information.
That's right. And I think we've had previous discussions on other webinars about people sometimes get concerned when those details are not visible on the box, when they've made it very clear to the movers that, hey, these are collectible, expensive sneakers. This is a firearm. This is, something very specific, and a more generic word like shoes or purses or sporting equipment is written on the outside of the box. And we were told before by the movers that that's actually done for security reasons. You don't want to write Coach purses on the outside of a box. So it just says wardrobe accessories, and that makes it less likely for things to be broken into and stolen. But it's really important to have those details accurate on your inventory sheet.
Exactly.
Which might differ from the way the box is labeled.
Exactly. Because you really don't want to call attention to a carton of firearms. So make and model information should not be listed on the outside of a carton in that instance. But your inventory and your high risk, high value inventory, that's where everything really needs to be documented.
Okay. And, I'm going to take a follow up here from Trya, because she had asked on the timeline for processing claims. And she said in her case, the family submitted a claim in February. Michael, it is now July. And she said they have not heard back from anyone. What should she do in this situation?
Well, I hope it's not one of ours. I don't think it is, though. I don't recognize your name. But that is definitely not good. So I would say probably reach out to your TSP. I'm happy to help you if I can. If you have some information for me, I can definitely bounce that around to industry and see who should be handling that claim.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And Trya, we do want to get you some help, because that is not acceptable. All right, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. We've been talking a lot about claims, as in damage claims and physical claims on our furniture and our belongings. And sometimes there's a little bit of confusion around the process of an inconvenience claim, which has nothing to do with damaged furniture or goods. So, Michael, can you back up and explain to us what is an inconvenience claim, and how do I know if I qualify, and where would our family file for that?
Absolutely. So those claims are filed directly with the TSP. Those claims do not have to be filed, and they should not be filed in DPS. Typically, inconvenience claims or delay claims are for missed pickups or a missed required delivery date. That's your RDD. And delays coming out of storage right now. So if your goods go into storage and you request a delivery date next week, basically the TSP or that storage company has 7 days to make 7 government business days to make that delivery to you. If the request is outside of those 7 government business days, there's a 2-day leeway. Basically, the TSP has 2 days on the tail end of that to make the delivery to you without it actually being late. I know there was a question too about statute of limitations. That has not been established quite yet, but that is a change that has been talked about in the past. But I would say if you are out of pocket for a delay or a missed RDD or a missed pickup, you want to file that claim as soon as you possibly can.
Okay. And that inconvenience claim, that covers purchases, and it's basically a per diem allowance for the family who was not expecting to be house camping, for example, and now they need to buy air mattresses or pillows or, basic cooking ware. And that's my understanding, is that, it's not going to get you the luxury cookware that you've been saving up for years, but it will allow you to purchase some odds and ends to get your family through those few days before your delivery comes. Is that correct?
That's correct. And there are a few different options to exercise your rights on a delay or an inconvenience claim. Another new change that has gone into place since last year is that there is a receipt-free option. And basically it would be your meals and incidentals for the service member only, and that would be per day up to 7 days. Now, if you save receipts, you can save receipts from day one and be reimbursed up to your full per diem for that. Factoring in also, there's sometimes a hotel stay that's involved. Or maybe you're just staying in your home and you need some quick little essential items just to prepare meals and to make it through that delay. Air mattresses, a few plastic shower curtains, a few towels for each person, pillows, really just temporary items until your items do arrive. So save your receipts. That's always going to be my number one suggestion on that. But there is also a receipt-free option that's offered now.
Perfect.
Amazing. So, Michael, my friend, I'm sure this never ever happens. I'm sure everybody is really satisfied with the offer they receive. But what happens if I don't agree with the offer? So I submit a claim and I say, I got this expensive couch, for example, which I don't. Spoiler alert, it's not me. But if I did, and then you all come back and say, great, we'll give you $800 and I'm asking for $4,000. What if I disagree? Can I dispute that?
You can, and that's definitely in your right to. So really both parties, the transportation service provider or the claims company that's handling those claims and the service member, really do need to do their best to find some common ground and settle that claim. If a settlement still cannot be reached, there is a built-in process through DPS that if a service member is still unhappy at the end of all that, they are able to transfer their claim to the military claims office, and that's what's known as an MCO. So essentially what would happen is the service member can transfer a handful of items. Maybe you agree with most of the items on the claim. The TSP will settle those with you. The other ones that then get transferred, the government will pay you if they do feel like you are due something, and how much. And then the government will turn around and settle directly with the TSP. So the service member gets taken care of, and then it turns into an issue then between the MCO and the TSP.
So, and just be candid with us. It feels a little bit like mom said no, so go ask dad. Is dad a pushover, or is dad like a real hard, like you wanted $3,000, buddy, I'm going to give you $8. Is it in your best interest to elevate it to the MCO?
Well, I will say that there are definitely there are situations where claims definitely have to go to a military claims office. If you are just let's say you've provided all the substantiation that you possibly have. You have a 75-inch TV, and for whatever reason, the TSP is offering you a 40-inch TV. Okay, that's a situation that go to the MCO. They will settle that claim. Okay. But in some cases, electronics especially, they depreciate over time. Let's be honest. As soon as you have that new TV in your car, there's already a new TV that Best Buy is hanging up with even better features. So especially electronics, I would say, sometimes a little bit more difficult to find that common ground on a claim. Like, kind, and quality. Those are really the three factors that TSPs and service members should be looking at for a fair replacement offer.
Okay. So if I bought, let's say, a 75-inch TV 8 years ago, right? To buy a 75-inch TV now, it might have a lot better features, but it might be more expensive. So is that full replacement value calculated on when I purchased it with a depreciation over time? Or is it the full replacement value of if I had to go out and buy a 75-inch TV today?
It's going to be today's value at your destination location. So I'm not sure. So I'm sure we all remember those big tube TVs that you had to be perfectly in line with to even see the screen. So we're so far beyond that type of technology now, but those TVs, some of them were $5,000 or $6,000 at the time. I mean, they were ridiculous. You can find a TV for better features, probably a bigger screen, better for everything, for thousands and thousands of dollars less than what they used to go for. So it would be today's value, replacement of similar like, kind, and quality at your destination location.
Okay. Awesome. So if you're moving to Italy, it might be a little more expensive to replace that TV than if you're in good old LA or Kansas. Who knows? All right.
Or Guam.
Thank you.
Guam
Yeah,
is a tough place. It's difficult to find like, kind, and quality items there. And again, it's one of those situations that all parties just have to really do their best.
So you bring up Guam. I spent 3 years there. One of the issues that so many families had moving to Guam, because it takes so long for your household goods to arrive, there's a lot of potential for mold and water damage, either coming into Guam or going out. How did claims handle that? Let's say your entire shipment is damaged by mold and water. How does that work?
Sure. Well, I would say, number one, don't allow any of those items into your home. We all have to do our best to limit any type of real property damage or real property contamination. You can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars between mitigating household goods and a house if you introduce those two to each other. So don't do that. Those items do have to all go back to the local agent's facility, and they should be inspected by a local ServPro service master. TSP should immediately get the base involved, get the MCO involved, to make sure that all parties are on board with what should happen.
Okay. Because in a case like that, if it's going back from Guam, I mean, you're looking at, for it to arrive and to go back 5-6 months. Is there any sort of budget to help you replace some of those items in the interim?
Well, you would be entitled to a delay claim or an inconvenience claim. So it very well could be rental furniture. Or if you have a mattress that is just dripping green goo and water coming out of a vault, as a TSP, you should replace that item right off the bat. That's an essential item. Nobody should be stuck sleeping on a air mattress for 6 months while you try to figure out for some reason if you can clean a mattress. So there's definitely certain items that should be replaced right off the bat. But some other items may just be temporary for a little while, like rental furniture. We've exercised that right before.
Yep. Awesome. Oh, Michael, you're so good at this.
Oh,
are you exhausted?
I need therapy after this one.
We have a great resource for that on our website. That's great. All right. Are you ready for the rapid fire?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Lizanne, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. How about, Michael, what are your best tips for receiving that full replacement value after a move?
Well, I have some bad news here because I don't really have any tips, but here's my suggestion. You will be, if an item is damaged, it would be the repair cost or the replacement cost, whichever is the lesser of the two. So again, save your receipts, document your items. These are your items. So document them to the best of your ability, and also know the rules. That's probably the biggest one that I'm going to share here today. All the rules that your TSPs should be following they're all readily available online. They're known as the Claims Liability Business Rules. You could type that into Google and pull up a nice spanking brand new PDF of all the 2022 rules. Know your rules, document your items.
I like that.
All right. Number 2, best tips for packing and loading day to avoid claims. Is that even possible?
Well, something that I hear often is we can't be in every room at one time, right? You have 10 different crew members in your house packing up everything. The kids are running around. The animals are running around. Please do your best to lock up your animals. Let me start out by saying that. But what I would say is if you see something that's out of the ordinary or your items being mishandled, stop everybody immediately. Prevention of any type of damage should be number one in all of our minds. We understand you can't be in all rooms at once. But if you see something suspicious or your items are being mishandled, stop immediately, call your TSP, call quality control, and get everybody back on the same page.
All right. How about this one? Do we need to keep the items that are broken or damaged?
You do. Really the rule here is that your damaged items should be retained by you for 30 days, for actually until once the claim gets settled. The TSP, if they do decide to salvage any damaged items, the TSP has 30 days to execute any type of salvage. Really, the only outlier in all this is if it's a hazardous item. So let's say if you have a claim that's nothing but broken picture frames, nobody is expecting you to keep all this broken glass in a garage or in a box that somebody can cut themselves on. So do your best to document all that. I would say, again, as long as photos and the documentation is there and your claim is substantiated with the TSP, you are free to throw out those hazardous items. My suggestion, though, is reach out to your TSP, get that approval first, and make sure you're all on the same page.
Awesome. All right, next one. Now, we talked a little bit about statute of limitations, but how long does the TSP have to respond to claims?
Sure. So they do have, again, 15 days to acknowledge receipt of a claim and 30 days to make an offer on a claim if the dollar amount is $1,000 or less. 60 days to make an offer if the claim is $1,001 or more.
Okay. All right. Last one from me is, Michael, do you have either a favorite app or a favorite tool that you'd recommend for military families to help them prevent claims and handle this whole claims process?
Sure. So I would say a lot of you are able as a service member to upload photos and different types of documentation, PDFs, photos, receipts, all these items into DPS. That would be my biggest suggestion. Put all that information in there for your TSP because then that way you don't have to go back through in emails with them to send in all those items to your TSP to review that claim. Do your best to use DPS to the best of your ability. I understand there are challenges with DPS, but recently there have been a lot of updates to that system that have made it more stable as far as the claim side. We've noticed in-house that many items that used to maybe fall out of DPS. So we've had service members complain before that they spent hours uploading all this information into DPS and then the TSP can't see any of it. That system has become more stable really over the last 6-7 months as far as retaining those items in there for your TSP to review.
Awesome. All right. Well, I know we are all excited to get to our Wheel of Names with our prize giveaway, but I do want to give a couple of shout outs and share some comments that have come in, Michael, while you've been sharing all your knowledge. So we have a greeting from Kimberly in Fort Bragg. Thanks for tuning in and watching. And we have also Renee from Virginia. Hope that your family is doing great. And Jen here is a longtime viewer in the middle of her own PCS. So Jen, we wish that everything is going smoothly for you. Thanks so much for watching. And I think there were a couple more questions. If you have another moment, Michael.
Sure.
Mary was asking about that inconvenience claim process. Is there a list of items somewhere that are approved? That would be if you're going the receipt method and buying things for your family. How do you know what would get reimbursed in that process?
Sure. So that's a great question. So anytime that a shipment is delayed or it's going line, your TSP should be sending you a document that says right on the top of it, it's a Transcom document. It says DP3 Shipment Inconvenience Claim Form. And that document does provide all the different guidelines and what to do if your shipment's delayed and what receipts to hold on to, and also explains essentially what the TSP is going to be liable to take care of for you. So if you don't get that form, I would say call your TSP and request it immediately. That will help walk you through that process.
Absolutely. That makes sense. Well, thank you, Mary.
And you may even be able to look up that document on Google if you type that in, DP3 Shipment Inconvenience Claim Form.
Awesome. And that's why I encourage all of you, whether you're watching live or on the replay, go ahead and add your comments and your questions in here, because there is a lot of information that we've gone over in the past less than an hour here. And I think there was one more comment here, and this is more of a comment than a question, but I just want to share it and acknowledge we were talking about the high value items and the high sentimental items. And she said that they thought about putting something on the high value list. It did not officially get listed on high value inventory, but it's something that was handmade by her grandfather. So is there a way to handle that, which apparently this object has now been lost?
Well, and unfortunately, that very well could be a difficult one for you. I would say, if you do have any photos of that item that you've taken in the past, we've definitely asked for photos on items that we've unfortunately lost. That will help that moving company try to, do their best to locate that item. As far as a handmade sentimental item, obviously an item like that unfortunately can't be reproduced or recreated. You can't just buy that on Amazon. But the TSP may have to look for something as similar as possible and offer that item. There is no way for a TSP to offer any type of compensation for sentimental items. So you may have a little bit of a difficulty with that one, but I would say work with that TSP, send them those pictures. And if you're still not happy with the outcome, that would be an item you can transfer to the MCO.
That makes sense. And
put it in our Facebook group for sure.
That's what I was just going to say, Tessa, that I can't promise that Lost During My PCS can locate items for you and reunite you, but I can say that over the years, we've had so many incredibly sentimental stories, very heartwarming stories, and just some fun items that have been reunited. People have lost all manner of furniture and artwork and, just personal items that someone else on the other side of the country finds it in their shipment, takes a picture, and through that group, we've been able to reunite many, many items. So I definitely encourage you to join the Lost During My PCS Facebook group, which is a closed private group. But you can also go to our new Instagram page and scroll through items there, and maybe your missing item will turn up there.
I sure hope it does. And until then, the best part of the show, drum roll, please. We are giving away 3 items today. We have 2 really awesome spouse serve planners. It's a mouthful. And a $50 Amazon gift card. So first up is one of our spouse planners. And that first one is going to
I love the drum roll.
Yeah, Ernie. Our fave mover, Ernie Pena. Go ahead and message the page. We'll get that to you. You're welcome to donate it back to a military spouse or actually give it to somebody on one of your many moves, or you can keep it. Maybe you'll love it. Next up, another spouse planner is going to Mary Belina Finney. Go ahead and please message the Facebook page so we can get you your item. And last, but certainly not least, a $50 Amazon gift card, which everybody needs always.
Especially on Prime Day.
I think it's going to stay. Renee Van Allen, congratulations. Congrats to all of our winners. And of course, thank you for joining us for our webinar. We're off next week, but we're back the week after with tips and tricks for how to manage hurricane season, emergency response, and other disasters. But before we go, we have to say a huge thank you to you, Michael. Rapid fire, never easy with somebody in the claims office. And I hope you find that therapist you've been looking for.
I think you handled it like a pro, and we really appreciate your insight, all the questions that you were able to answer. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. You're very welcome.
Stressful, but with you on the other side of it, I'm sure it makes the claims process go a lot easier. So thank you for being here. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. We will see you in 2 weeks. Lizanne, you want to sign us off with our tagline?
Until then, this too shall PCS.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.